Welcome back to the Human Nexus podcast. My name is Andrew Brazis. I'm a business coach and private chef.
Welcome back. My name is Miss Laura Machiste. I am an online tarot reader, holistic massage therapist, and energy coach. And today we are talking about the Lunar New Year, which is something that comes up every year, a couple months after the society's New Year, I guess you could call it, with January 1st. So I definitely feel like with the Lunar New Year, it is something that I feel people give or take to either Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year.
hmm
But what I have researched, it actually is not just Chinese New Year. It belongs to Asia in general, where it's more like not just Chinese New Year. It's like Korea also celebrates, Vietnam. So more of South Asia type of thing where
hmm
I feel like on the stereotype of it all, a lot of times just like Chinese New Year. So that was something new that I learned, that knowing that it's actually more of the Asian cultures as well. And the
Yeah.
highlight of the color red for these
Mm.
times as well. What do you know anything about Lunar New Year, like growing up like that?
No, that wasn't something that I really learned until a couple of years ago, honestly. And so I got really deep into astrology. I do know it starts on February 17th. And looking back at just my own experience in business, Western civilization, we're celebrating that January 1st being the new year, but we don't really get, I mean, I talked about this in the last episode. I don't really see momentum start happening until the mid of February, towards the end of February for businesses, which is so interesting because that aligns with the lunar cycle and the Chinese New Year.
Yeah, so it's interesting too is that the Lunar New Year, lunar moon, it does go with the moon cycles. So the Lunar
Mhm.
New Year is actually on a different date every year. Just
Mm.
depends on when the second new moon of the month, I mean, of the year is.
I see.
So that was something I wasn't aware of. I knew that it was on different dates every year because I'm pretty sure one of the years it was on my friend's birthday and she's February 10th.
hmm
So it definitely does fluctuate with where the new moon sets itself up for that
hmm
year. So that was like new news to me. And also that energy of it being the second new moon, because the first new moon is still in that winter solstice energy. And then once after it breaks that point. So I always knew that it had something to do with the moon because of the word itself, but I wasn't necessarily fully aware that it was something that went specifically with the new moon, which does make sense because this year we have the Lunar New Year on February 17th, and we have that new moon Aquarius eclipse, which is actually
hmm
pretty interesting. Aquarius is like adding itself into eclipse season, even though it still is Virgo and Pisces for this
hmm
next one. So I feel like that is of purpose for something like kind of like welcoming in that age of Aquarius energy that we're still at the very, very early aspects of.
Yeah, that is really interesting. And also going into the whole, was it the fire horse, the year of the fire horse? And just with the way things are in the world, at least here in the States, it's, I mean, it's getting pretty, what do I see here? Pretty loud, direct. It seems like things are heating up, things are moving quickly, which are
Yeah.
all, things of the fire horse. All, yeah.
Yeah, I find it very interesting that with all of this going on, that there is that movement into the fire horse, which I feel like things just, just like go together, which is what this whole podcast is really about, making those like connections to each other that most likely to just the general eye doesn't look like a connection until you actually like maybe do some research or think into it. So I find it really interesting that there are like three different New Years, right? We have January
Yeah.
1st, we have the Lunar New Year, and then in our next episode, we're going to talk about the astrological New Year in terms
hmm
of the zodiac wheel with Aries season, but we'll save that for that episode. But as we move out of the snake year and enter the fire horse year, I feel like it's also something to be aware of and like how it's being celebrated. Like the color red, strength, power, vitality is just always usually the holder of Lunar New Year. You know, like those red envelopes, banks usually give them out. You can buy them online. Usually it's like a good omen to like give and receive that red envelope around the Lunar New Year, which I know some people like make it a point to like get a stack of them and like give them away.
Really interesting. I want, is that related to, I mean, your other channel, you talked about sending, you had something related to red envelopes. Am I correct on this?
Yes. So I every year the brand that I get these, I actually have one right here so I can show it to you. It is 2026 year of the horse fortune cards and they are okay, red.
Oh, nice.
So whenever this is happening
Fortune cards is
because
what I was trying to come up with. But yeah.
yeah, so I always like to like add in as free gifts when people order stuff from my shop, like what's
Mm,
going on around the time. So I normally do get those fortune cards, which is like kind of like my envelope that I give
mm,
out to people. So in a way, shape, or form, it's how like I'm spreading that energy. But the color red specifically is so interesting because in like the US it's looked at as like a, maybe a scarier color or a dangerous color, but to the other cultures it's looked at as like power, vitality, movement, strength. And I also was looking up like the celebration of the
mm.
Lunar New Year and how they celebrate, and they make it like a 15-day thing, and on
Oh,
the
wow.
last day, they release lanterns as like a symbolic way to like bring light to the new path. So I feel like there's just so much more energy to it than how we just,
Yeah, we kind
fire
of,
this, that, and the
yeah,
other.
sorry, I was just now reading that about the Lantern Festival. Yeah, we ring in the New Year like one day. We have that, break off for Christmas or whatever. And then it's kind of back to work, which seems kind of backwards. And then there's spending what this looks like. Lunar New Year days, Tuesday, February 17th this year. And then the Lantern Festival ends on March 3rd. So that's like half the month.
Yeah, it's a 15-day celebration.
Yeah, that's wild. As we're wrapping up the previous Lunar New Year, do you have any, last year was the wood snake. Do you have any snake shedding stories that feel like it's wrapping up for you around this time?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I feel like 2025 was a year of like figuring out certain things about myself.
Hmm.
I'm already online YouTube 24/7. I started a massage business. 2025 made me realize that this is not what I want to fully do, hands on, like body work and stuff like that. So I feel like was shedding that part of societal stereotype
Yeah.
where kind of weighing what looks important to society doesn't have to look important to me. So I feel like being pushed into society, having the massage business, having clients schedule, things like that, being on other people's time was something I realized I didn't want to do.
Hmm.
So I definitely feel like I shed that part of the caring what society thinks per se and just doing what I want to do and moving forward in that direction. And I definitely feel like the if you're watching this and you came from my channels and most of the time I usually put my hands in there. I don't really show my face. And I have definitely been starting to feel that push towards that FaceTime situations with readings, putting myself out there, having that type of movement, showing people not just hearing my personality, but like seeing my personality, like in like facial expression, hand movements, stuff like that. So I feel like that's definitely where I'm feeling pushed, which actually does make sense because it's a fire horse that we're moving into, which a lot of people aren't aware that in, I guess, where we're at, there are four elements, right?
Hmm.
Earth, water, fire, and air. in Chinese astrology, they actually have five elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Is that five? One, two, three, four, five. Yeah. So they add in metal, and there is no air, which I find very
Interesting.
interesting. It's maybe metal would be their, I guess, air element since it is very different, but I just find it very interesting that they don't have that. They
Hmm.
do have 12 animals, though, just like the regular zodiac does. And they have this energy where it's just more spread out. So the last time we had a fire horse year was 1966. 1906, 1966, and now we are here in 19 in 2026. So 60 years ago was the last time we had a fire horse year. So like with modern astrology, with the zodiac signs, we go through them every year. But
Hmm.
in Chinese astrology, they are way more spread out than regular astrology is. So it is a rare energetic cycle to be in
Hmm.
because a fire horse only comes up every 60 years. So if you're somebody who was on this earth for 55 years, you may have not ever experienced a fire horse year. So I definitely feel like that is an interesting fact to know. And horses really, represent that like freedom, that like running energy, like galloping with horse energy. I feel like this year is really asking, like myself and other people, whatever you shed
Hmm.
in the snake year, what are you now ready to run with in
Hmm.
2026 in the year of the fire horse? And I would say it's going to be a great year for fire signs just because it's in the element of fire. I feel like specifically, I haven't really looked into Sagittarius energy that much, but I will when I get back on my main channel. I look into Leo energy all the time. I've seen a slight change in their readings, but Aries is going to have a great year too, just because of that movement of
Hmm.
Neptune. Saturn could give them a little bit of whatever, but I feel like it's going to be a really, really good year for people who have fire placements and or people that are in the position of really like using their fire instead of not, or just like cooling
Yeah.
off or always throwing water over it and just saying, oh, my passions don't mean anything. Taking those
Yeah.
big risks will be important.
And I think it's really interesting too, talking about the things that you shed in 2025, because that can work in the reverse of if you felt stuck and you're still clinging on to those things and you're not shedding those, whatever you're stuck with is also going to pick up speed. So try to get your ducks in a row, as one would say, before it's takes off, I guess. And I think that's something that I've been implementing these kinds of practices in business for, the last 4 or 5 years. And already, the last couple of weeks has just been insane for the amount of like calls and just how much I'm working. And it's so weird to see that happen in alignment with the Lunar New Year. And then also like looking out at what you said 60 years ago. So 1966. What was going on in 1966? Wasn't that Vietnam? Am I wrong about that? Wasn't that like a major conflict for the US? And we're
Maybe. I'm not that big of a regular history person.
I'm pretty sure it was. Like the civil rights movement was getting started or popping off there. And we're kind of like full circle dealing with the same stuff today, which is crazy to think about. And then moving into the fire horse, is there anything you're doing specifically to maintain positive momentum?
I have this weird thing, and I don't know if there's like something to it or not because I didn't really look it up. It was just like my intuition. And I mentioned this actually to the Leos because they're the only zodiac sign that has a mane, like a horse does. I feel like it's a year for I feel like this might sound like it makes no sense, but like hair, cutting it, growing it, nourishing it, evolving it, like almost like letting it fly free more or
Hmm.
less than like having it up. I know that could be like sound like random and like super simple, but I'm getting something about a mane. I don't know what it has to do with it, but if you're one of those types of people that just like never do your hair, you may find in the year of the horse that you just like take care of your hair more. And hair is very spiritual and symbolic in a lot of like cultures and spiritual ways of being. So I feel
Hmm.
like there could be something around that. Maybe I don't know why just yet, but it could be a really good year for maybe beauticians, like people who do hair. I
Yeah.
don't know. I guess I'll find out. I do know somebody who does do hair. So
Yeah,
that's
I wonder if that'll
random.
like change some trends. It's funny you say that because I had earlier this week I was gonna cut my hair and I have my hair's done to like shoulder length almost. And I was like, no, 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 no. But I had the urge for some reason, which I haven't had in years, which I'm not going to do. But sorry, just looking back on 1966, Vietnam War hit its peak. The Black Power movement started getting really, really hot and heavy. Culture explosion. Was this a Star Trek and psychedelics kind of popping off? Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. And that's happening. I mean, not specifically, but we have very similar political landscape. So interesting. Did you put off any New Year's resolutions for this date or upcoming?
Yeah, I keep telling myself that I'm going to go consistently on my main channel for all 12 signs. And I've
Hmm.
just been putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. But I do have a plan to start recording all of those next week and getting them out for March, which is interesting that we looked into the 15-day celebration of Lunar New
Hmm.
Year, which during that 15 days of celebration is going to be when I get all of the preparation of that release and move that. It's almost like taking the horse out of the stable and allowing
Yeah,
to run
be free.
again. And it was in the
Yeah.
stable for a good amount of time. Maybe I took it on a ride here or there throughout the last 2 years, but never like actually freed it
Hmm.
per
Yeah.
se. So definitely planning to do that for sure. And I just feel like there is this energy of moving around more. Like I feel the need to move around more and not just sit down
That's what
or
I was going to ask. If you can feel, because we talk about energy a lot, just individually and I guess on the podcast. Do you feel like the energy changing in the air? Because I do personally. Like I've been way more active. I've been feeling the need to like I have so many side projects and to-do lists and all that shit, and I've been pushing them forward and like I mean honestly not just getting caught up, but like getting ahead in a lot of areas for other projects. Whereas like a month ago or 2 weeks ago, I didn't have it. It just didn't exist. And now just out of nowhere, it's like, oh shit, it's time to go. Do you have that similar feeling?
yeah, I definitely feel the need to. It's funny that you say get ahead of it
Hmm.
because I do have that plan of between February 17th to I would say maybe like March 1st because I would like to
Hmm.
get out the readings that are for March in the
Yeah.
beginning of March. But I did have that plan of like, okay, let's try to record all of March before it even starts. So
Hmm.
I'm ahead of the month and then constantly always be ahead by 1 month instead of feeling like, all right, well, if you don't sit down today, you're not going to be able to get these out. And just trying not to make it where like I'm rushing so much and just planning ahead for it is definitely something that I am feeling the need to do. And
Hmm.
I feel like my physical goals have changed.
Hmm.
For the past like 6 months, I've been really focusing on like having the scale go down. And
Hmm.
now it shifts more into, all right, well, maybe I don't care exactly what the scale says. I just want to get stronger, which is interesting because horses are so muscular and they have such strong everything, when they're trained correctly. So I feel like the difference in like my physical training and goals have changed in that department and like trying to get ahead of things on the work front has changed. And honestly, I'm not sure if I mean, okay, so as I was doing my research, the year of the fire horse in parts of Japan and China, it historically has a reputation of producing extremely strong willed women and women believed to be too independent. Now, I find that super interesting because all of these energies, as we are back in or making our way back into a fire horse year, how is it that astrologically we're also having these planets moving back into Aries or moving into Aries, which would technically
Yeah.
then be considered the extremely independent? So
Yeah.
I have an Aries rising.
Mm.
And I do have to say, when I first felt Aries Neptune's movement, I had a little bit more attitude than usual. I was very aware of it, but I was like,
Mm.
ooh, you have an attitude. So I think it's really interesting that in Japan and parts of China, they felt like Fire Horse years brought very strong willed women, almost like too independent, almost like people that almost like women who wouldn't allow anybody to do anything for them, which
Mm.
is interesting because that's how I've been for at least the past like 5 or 6 years. And just this year, or not even this year, getting closer to the fire horse, I actually have that opposite effect where I feel like I'm a little bit more open to allowing somebody to help me. Like back in the day, I was all like, no, if I do this or if I do that, I want to do it myself first, and
Mm.
then a partner can come in. And now I'm kind of more open to, all right, well, I
Like
don't mind.
collective
Right.
help. Yeah.
So I think that's like
Interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. There's also, I was reading about how where'd it go? Families avoided having children.
Yes.
This was, yeah, during the fire because of that reason that you just stated, which is kind of crazy.
Because those cultures really amplify like family, togetherness. So when
Hmm.
you have two independently strong females, that could give off that sense of like, okay, this person might never give us offspring. You know, this person might never, maybe they won't pass down the family lineage or they might stop it or something like that. And in those cultures, they're huge, like continuing the lineage or this, that, and the other. So I definitely feel like that makes sense as to why they'd be like, hold on,
Yeah.
don't want these women that don't want to have help or receive assistance.
Strong-willed, which we need
Right.
more of. Anyways,
Exactly.
uh, man, that's so crazy. I'm just like, I can't believe the amount of like stuff that's happening around the world right now. And I mean, we're going into fire horse season, how things have kind of ramped up over the last 6 months. And then now it seems like everything, like the Epstein files is out and like that stuff speeding up. What do you think of not the Epstein files, but just like fire horse and world political climate?
So with me with politics, like I don't actually pay attention to it unless it
Hmm.
like shows up on my feed and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And these things are getting exposed so strongly that it's finding my
Yeah.
feed. I personally feel like revolution could be needed in all ways, shapes, and forms. You know, there is this energy of, I feel like people starting to realize that there are things that are so hidden that
Hmm.
it really is going to take like somebody that was involved in it to really just say, you know what, let me just say it, which could happen, which definitely
Yeah.
could happen, which I feel like could be helpful for the movement of it all with exposure and stuff like that. And like people really saying, you know, like this is not what we want our world to look like. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, the US is getting a lot of it, but I feel like I feel like it's a worldly thing. I feel like there
Yeah.
are
I
higher
agree.
ups in different countries that knew what was going on in these ways, shapes, and forms.
Hmm.
And I mean, like I watch a lot of like medieval stuff or look into this and look into that. And crappy stuff like this has been happening for so long that I feel like with where we are right now with like collective and social media being able to get like a group of people together in a way that wasn't possible back in the day. I hope that somehow, some way, millennial Gen Z, that generation really brings it all to a head and
Hmm.
like takes down the patriarchy of like things that
Yeah.
are just wrong and don't need to be fueled anymore through positions of power. I feel like it's all just that energy of power and like
Yeah.
wanting the power and feeling like you have to have the power in whatever way, shape, or forms. And honestly, a lot of it is so disturbing that unfortunately, I feel like people need to be disturbed for
Yeah.
change to happen. So
Which I think is a good, I mean, not good, but it's just like the reason, one of the reasons why I'm doing, this podcast and just so deep into this work is because it's so interesting to see all of these aspects like play out in real time. Like we have, the year of the snake and all this stuff was revealed. Big, big, big stuff. And then as we're getting towards the Lunar New Year and this fire horse starts to ramp up, I mean, you're seeing all of that stuff accelerate and literally, I mean, everything, it seems like everything's on fire, starting to be. And so, like, yeah, like these big reveals, big, horrible reveals, and then all this fire kind of, I mean, in a way, carrying it away or like cleansing it or, whatever adjective you want to put there. But the necessariness of seeing like just how terrible everything is. And because of social media, that's amplified, 100x or a million X or whatever. Yeah, it's just it's so crazy how all of that is lining up with what's happening astrologically. It just blows my mind.
like my whole thing is like how many more things do we need to read
Mm,
before we all get together and figure out how to change this? It's kind of like
yeah.
when you're in a toxic relationship and they do you bad, they do you this, they do you that, they do you there, and then whatever. And it doesn't take until like the last needle or whatever, the last, I don't know what the saying is per
Yeah.
se, the last straw, there you go, that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah.
Like in my perception, I feel like the last straw should have been months and months and months ago of this
Yeah.
reveal. So like my whole thing is like, when is that last straw really going to happen for everybody to be like, okay, we need to change this and we need to figure out how to change this in a way that, they do say fire horses are connected to revolution
Hmm. Yeah,
years.
that was the
So
big thing. Yeah.
possibly that could bring a really massive change to everything. Fire does rule the colors red, orange, those
Mm,
passionate energies. It's kind of like my dad used to say this quote, and he said, and he was not spiritual like that. Like he didn't know what the consciousness chart looked like. It's sometimes we just like have the knowings.
mhm,
And if I was really sad about something, he'd be like, don't be sad. Like, if anything, just be mad, be angry. And I would be like, I thought anger wasn't that good either. But when you look at the consciousness chart, anger is closest to you breaking the 3D threshold.
mm,
So it's better than being sad about something. So I feel like this year might just bring about a little bit more anger because it's needed, because it's like, yeah, we can feel bad that these things happen to these people, but we should be mad about it. And that's that fire that's going to shift things. That's that fire that's going to break the threshold from the 3D to the 4D where things can actually change. So I feel like there could be benefit with people becoming more angry about this stuff because I feel like it's needed to
mm,
use that fire and to use that movement towards certain things that could be of help. But I don't know how much could really be changed and how much could really not be changed. I don't really know that. And I feel like
yeah.
that could be something that people try to figure out this year for sure. And I feel like more people are going to start having a voice
Mm,
and being bold with their voice. Like, I would not be surprised, like I said before, if there is somebody from the inside of those files that says, all right, I had enough. I was part of this, but I'm going to expose everything.
yeah.
And
Which is fire horse energy. I mean, it's the boldness and then the momentum and just kind of like burning everything down as you go.
hmm.
Yeah, it's very, very on brand with where we're at.
Yeah, but on a lighter note, although, the duality of life, you're going to have your negative with positive, and that's what I say with people during readings all the time. I'm
Hmm.
like, look, if it's not you, it could be them. And if it's not you and it's not them, it's probably not your reading, and move on.
Yeah.
But to bring back the positive things that could be playing out for the year of the horse, really breaking through things that you have felt were holding you back for a really long time. And to go with like some lucky things, it does state here the colors red, orange, gold are beneficial for this year. The numbers 2, 7, and 2, 3, and 7.
Hmm.
So either birth dates or maybe numerology, life path number stuff. Flowers, lilies, and jasmine, which is
Interesting.
interesting because I think I just got a jasmine candle not that long ago. And the direction on the compass, fire horse rules south, which is absolutely crazy because I live in New Jersey and
Mhm.
there are at least three people that I know that are planning to move to South Carolina this year.
That's very strange. That's something I'll keep an eye out for.
So keep an eye out of people that are trying to move south.
I feel like I want to move south and get out of this fucking cold.
And now
No,
that I
that
said it, I bet you're going to be like, "Oh my God, watch."
yeah, yeah, it'll be everywhere. Yeah, I think like going on just using that positive momentum to bring in really good change. And escaping maybe is not the right word, but just you've shed the negative things from 2025,
Right.
and then now you have the not just the you have the energy and the ability to keep moving forward rapidly in the direction of wherever you want to go, which I think is really powerful and really good and exciting.
Yeah, when I think about horses too, maybe because I always watch Lord of the Rings, but like horses and man or human, they have a
Mhm.
relationship,
Yeah,
for decades, for long, long, long amount of time. Horses and humans have assisted each other in whatever way, shape, or form. At one point, that was our only way of transportation was
Mhm.
riding horses. So I feel like somehow, some way, this year might have something for like the human collective of just having that connection. Where what do snakes do for us? Nothing.
Yeah.
If anything,
Well,
we're meant to really like stay away from them more or less.
and I mean, going back to the theme of the horse, there's been a lot of the readings lately. There's been a lot of themes of travel, just kind of like across the board, which I mean, as you said, the horse and humans that's our travel companion. It has been historically. So I would say it's a good year to travel too.
For sure. Well, this is what we have for the Lunar New Year. Our next episode is going to be Aries season with the astrological New Year. So we have a
Hmm.
couple New Year things going on, and we'll move forward with whatever's next after that. But if you have anything that connects to the Lunar New Year, Year of the Horse, or anything that you want to add or share, comment down below.
Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.